Good afternoon, everyone. This is Victor from NewStars Migration in Canberra, and this afternoon we're going to talk about some new policy about the employer-sponsored visa. As we all understand, 2 weeks ago the department has confirmed that the permanent residency pathway for all those 482 visa holders. This news was introduced early this year. But then the department said they will confirm the policy by the end of 2023. So that we have a bit more details about this policy. So basically, after 25th November 2023, all those TSS visa holders will be eligible for permanent residency. We all understand before this policy, only those applicants with occupation on midterm and long-term occupation list will have a pathway to permanent residency. But in the meantime, those applicants with occupation on short-term occupation list do not have a permanent residency pathway. So previously, you can be sponsored by an employer, but not necessarily that will lead to permanent residency. So from now, after 25th November 2023, you all will have permanent residency pathway. That applies to those visa holders. So if it's new applications launched on or after 25th November 2023, that's not a problem. Any new application after that, those applicants will have the pathway. In the meantime, if your application has not been finalized, so your application has not been finalized as 25th November 2023, then you will still be eligible for the permanent residency pathway. What about those people currently holding those visas? So your visa has been already granted before the date, which is 25th November 2023. We haven't seen the detailed explanation on the information sheet the department sent to the migration agents. We believe all those details will be published on department's website very soon, hopefully before Christmas time. Okay, so simply put, occupations now, as long as we sponsored by employer in Australia, from now on, you will have permanent residency pathway. But remember, you need to be sponsored under 482 first. This only apply to we call TRT stream, so transfer stream. You need to be sponsored under 482 first. Then you will have permanent residency towards 186 permanent residency. Then we get a lot of inquiries and a lot of people asking, I'm very interested into getting sponsored by my employer. As we all realize, this year the point test skill migration programs are quite difficult. Namely the state nomination programs or the independent invitation. The points is very high, and I've been working in some area with some company for some period of time. Can I be sponsored? So to answer your questions, we need to understand the basic eligibility of employer sponsorship. Now we talk about two parts, of course. The first part is towarding the employer, and the second part is towarding the employee. So the first question we often get people asking, is it just, the difficulty is just to find an employer? So if there's an employer who want to sponsor me, then is that all satisfied the employer sponsor visa? The question is not simply yes. So to have an employer who want to sponsor you, it's very important, because that's what we're talking about, employer sponsor visa. But in the meantime, there are also restrictions about some employers cannot sponsor certain kind of occupations. I will give you a bit example. What sort of we call caveat, what sort of limitation some employers will have. I'll give you some example. For example, if you are working in a restaurant or saying a cafe or restaurant, or a fast food restaurant, saying, and as a cook, if that's the case, then your employer need to satisfy certain requirements. So, for example, if if the place you're working for, let's say, restaurants or fast food restaurant, if it's only providing limited service, we call limited service restaurant, then they have a problem to sponsor you as a cook or as a chef or as a cafe or restaurant manager. The limited service restaurant will be defined as fast food or takeaway food service. So for example, if you're working in Subway, it'll be quite difficult you be sponsored as Subway store manager or certain kind of, you don't have a cook, probably you do, sandwich cook or something, but then you won't be able to sponsor under that title. And also, for example, if it's fast casual dining or just those kind of limited service cafe. So that's another problem with the cafe. Cafe, we know there are different types of cafe. There are very fancy cafe who also serving drinks, cafe and maybe brunch or even lunch. But at other type of cafe, they are based in the mall, and we call this limit service cafe, and also pizza restaurant. So if it's pizza restaurant, limit service cafe, those cafe in the mall setting, and fast food takeaway service restaurants, they will have a problem to sponsor you as a cafe or a cook or chef. But by contrast, if you are working in food establishment with proper service, then they will be able to sponsor you as cook, chef, or cafe or restaurant manager. Just an example to you to understand, will there be certain kind of requirement for an employer? These just example for you to understand. Not all occupations, all employers be eligible to sponsor. Another example we often get answers about accountant. A lot of people working in accountant firms and say, asking, can I be sponsored? So the first thing to understand is the accountant under current arrangement, accountant firm can sponsor you as a general accountant, management accountant, and taxation accountant, but not bookkeepers or accounting clerk. So if your position is a bookkeeper or accounting clerk, you cannot be sponsored. And second thing is the business need to have more than 1 million of turnover. So the business need to generate profit over 1 million in order to sponsor someone. So that gives you a bit of understanding about the size of the company. And also, these kind of company need to have at least 5 employees. Okay, 5 employees does not necessarily mean 5 full-time employees, but at least need to have 5 employees. So if it's an accounting firm, it needs to have 1 million turnover and 5 employees, and they sponsor you as a proper positions as accountant, taxation accountant, or management accountant. Just give you a big example about there will be some restriction which we call caveat towards some employers. So whatever if you think about sponsorship, you can confirm with the migration agents or find relevant documents online to see if the industry you're working in have certain kind of caveat towards your employer. So that's about the employer side. First of all, we talk about the caveat. Second thing about the procedure, the employer need to apply for standard business sponsorship. So that's just a procedure. The department want to see the company is properly running, legal, registered in Australia, and they have their financial improvements for that. So this is something you register with the department saying, I want to be a qualified sponsor. That's just step one. Once the employer registers standard business sponsor, then the employer can raise the demands of a sponsor. Of course, there's another consideration, which is the genuine position available. So the employer cannot make up the position. If the employer's the scope of business does not really need such a position, they will raise concern as well. For example, if we're talking about a fast food and just a pizza restaurant, and then just you are the owner of a pizza restaurant and you want to sponsor advertising specialist, which is completely unnecessary, so they will raise a concern. So just to understand that the position need to be genuinely needed in such a company and in such an industry. So just to understand a bit of, and apart from that, there was no particularly requirement of the turnover and also about the size of company, except those industries with the caveats. So we often get asked, can a company sponsor me? what is the turnover, minimum turnover. The department didn't set up a minimum turnover for most of the occupations. So as long as it's reasonable. So I think the key points about the sponsorship is about reasonable, because you want to show the department that your employer, the employer actually want to show the department that they had to make their effort to looking for those potential talents, local talents, to the best of their efforts, and they couldn't find somebody suitable with their efforts. Now this is a perfect candidate, who is an overseas visa holder. Then the employer want to sponsor them. So there are several processes you need to go through in order to prove the need of such a position and to nominate a particular candidate. So this is about the employer side, and then the second thing is about the employee side. What is the basic requirements, eligibility record about somebody who's thinking about employer sponsorship? First of all, it's definitely working experience. You need to show at least 2 years working experience in your highly relevant occupation. So if you want to be sponsored as a restaurant manager, you need to show the department you've been working full-time 2 years as a restaurant manager, or if part of the working experience are full part-time, then you need to use longer period of part-time to show the full-time period. So equivalent to 2 years full-time, that's what we call it. That's very important to have those 2 years working experience, and it's not necessary to have those working experience in Australia. It can be some working experience overseas. And if you're applying for 482 visa, we usually suggest that this 2 years working experience occurred in the past 5 years. Okay, so it's better some working experience happened in the past 2 years. So if you have been working as a restaurant manager back in your home country, as long as you can show the evidence to the department, and then we can still recognize that 2 years experience as your eligibility to meet the minimum requirement. So 2 years working experience, bear in mind of that. And second thing is the English requirement, of course. There will still be the short-term list and the long-term list, medium term, when you apply for 482. So if your occupation is on the short-term list, your English requirement is 5 points, with 4.5 with minimums of 4 components. And if your occupation is on midterm and long-term occupation list, then your English requirement is 5 points, with 5 points for each of the 4 components. So pretty much it's 5 points and 5 points, and that's the minimum English requirement. And also, people also asking about what about qualification? There are many ways to do that, to show the qualification meet the minimum requirement, which we can talk about it if you actually need to do the consultation. But the first thing we always ask the clients when they talk about employer sponsorship, we ask them about working experience. How many working experience do you have? And what is your job title? Are you paid at a proper rate? What are your job duties? So this is a big things what we do. When we talk to the employer, we always ask them, do you need such a position? Have you ever sponsored such a position? And have you tried to recruit other people before you make a decision to sponsor this candidate? So these 2 different approach when we made the consultation towards the employee. But anyway, this is definitely a very great news for those people who are looking sponsorship option, particularly for those people who used to do not have a sponsorship pathway toward permanent residency. For example, commonly, let's say cook. Previously, only chef can be sponsored under the permanent residency stream, but then now cook can be sponsored. Restaurant manager can be sponsored. So there are many occupations can be sponsored. Marketing specialists can be sponsored, and advertising specialists can be sponsored. Even massage therapists can be sponsored. So as long as it's on the 482 occupation list, and you will have a chance to be sponsored towards permanent residency after 2 years, not 3 years. Again, that's also a very significant change. You only need to work the employer for 2 years to meet the minimum requirement for the transition to permanent residency. Of course, there will be up to the negotiation you have with your employer in terms of 186 sponsorship, okay? Because you need endorsements from your employer again when you apply for the permanent residency. So that's pretty much about the news, and we're trying to send out the message that is, if you are currently working in a company, a shop, in Canberra and have been working roughly about 2 years, or you have some similar working experience overseas, maybe 1 year overseas and 1 year in Canberra, and you don't know if you are eligible for sponsorship visa, contact us. We're happy to give you a consultation to determine your eligibility and to see the quality of your employer to determine if they are eligible to sponsor you under the new arrangement of 482 visa. And that's just a very good alternative for migration. So that's just a bit about the new 482 and some change of the 482 visa. So that's my first part of the section. Second part is we recorded a video a couple of days ago, and we'll also mention this again. It's about the aged care labor agreement. And this is also a part of the 482 sponsorship program. So the 482 sponsorship programs contains short-term occupation lists, medium long-term occupation lists, and there are some special arrangement which we should usually are labor agreements. So labor agreement is something the Department of Home Affairs will sign agreement with certain industry or certain companies or certain council or certain local governments. For example, there was a labor agreement called DAMA, which is when department signing this kind of labor agreement with those councils or regional areas. So that's also part of the 482 sponsor visa. So the labor agreement has been there for a long time. And the emphasis today is about the aged care, very new aged care labor agreement. So this agreement also have a lot of benefits, particularly for those people who are currently working in the aged care or disability care sector. So if you are working in aged care disability sector, definitely pay attention to this aged care agreement, because that should offer you a migration pathway as long as you find a qualified sponsor. So we try to mention this, raise this to those people. If you are being working in this industry, aged care or disability or support industry in Australia for more than 12 months, and you have tried to talk to your employer, and your employer say, I'm happy to help, I'm happy to sponsor you, but the employer has not joined the labor agreements. You can always contact us. We're happy to explain how does the labor agreement work, and what are the process, what are the requirements, and we can apply this labor agreement on the behalf of your employer, help them to get this labor agreement. Once they obtain this labor agreement, they can use the labor agreement to sponsor you. One of the great benefits of this labor agreement is the requirement is lower, even lower than the standard 482 visa. So English point is a bit lower, working experience is lower, and sometimes there will be also exemptions of the age limit under certain arrangements. So there are a lot of benefits, great benefits under this aged care agreement. And one of the most important about the agreement is we know all those occupations related to care workers do not have a migration pathway under the standard 482 arrangement. So even department change the policy, without the labor agreement, you can still not be sponsored because your occupation is not on the list, whatever it, nowhere on the list. So you need to use this labor agreement to allow you to put the occupation on the list, and the employee can sponsor you. Okay, so this is about the aged care labor agreements. Again, if you are working in this industry, or your friends who are working in the aged care or direct care industry, contact us. We're happy to explain to you how does it work, and help you to go through the process. That's pretty much about the session today. Today is about 482 visa, standard ones, and the labor agreements. Just to want to send out a message. We believe this is a beginning of new eras of sponsorship visa. This is pretty much the trend of the government. The government want to see sponsor visa become more important and more accessible for employee. So, and also they will make it, and also the visa, the processing time of the visa is much faster than the standard skill migration visa. We see a lot of people get their 482 visa within 2 to 3 months, comparing to 12 months of 10 months of the 190 491 visa. So they do give priority to the employer-sponsored visa. That's what we can see this year particularly, and will be something probably for the coming year or two. So yeah, definitely consider 482 sponsor visa as one of the options. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening, and you can always contact us through the Facebook page. Thank you very much.